Welcome to ParaTruth. What's up, everybody, and welcome to a brand new episode of ParaTruth Reborn. My name is Erik.
And I'm Justin.
And this is a pre-recorded show on 107.7 FM New Orleans and United Public Radio Network. Today, we are joined by Kat Ward, a dear friend of ours, and dare I say, well, we'll just leave it at friend, I think. Now, Kat, many of you know her, I'm sure, as she's part of the network as well. But she's been in the a paranormal experiencer and a sensitive since childhood. Growing up on the east coast of Canada in the province of New Brunswick, finding answers to the unexplained has led her to become a paranormal investigator with the Canadian Supernatural Research Society, based out of Ottawa Valley, Ontario, Canada, where she currently resides. Helping people understand their paranormal experiences and comforting them to know they are not alone in these experiences has led Kat to start a Paranormal Heart podcast. Paranormal Heart provides a safe place where people can openly discuss their paranormal encounters without ridicule or judgment. She's also an audiobook narrator, the Obsidian Guardian series, and voice actor, Lorraine in Camp Smokey. Kat, welcome to PTR. It's good to have you back.
Hello, Justin.
Hello.
Wow. Fair enough. That's fair. That's fair.
Hello, Erik.
Hi.
Thank you so much for that lovely intro and having me on.
Well, we had to ring in the new year, and you are probably the most responsible party for us getting on the network. So we thought, what better way to ring in the new year than bringing on the person that has brought so much joy to our life?
And quite frankly, probably the most responsible party in our lives, period. So,
well, thank you. And happy New Year 2025. Holy cow. Now that I look at my little New Year headpiece, it looks like something Madonna would wear in a different body part. Sorry.
Yeah.
Maybe in her younger years.
Oh, yeah. She doesn't look like herself anymore. So, anyways.
We won't even get into that whole.
No, that's not.
No.
My mind's going places I don't want it to go. It's weird. It's getting weird.
Do I need to take these off now? Or are they just?
No, you're okay. You're okay. You're fine.
Oh.
So you've had a lot going on this year. You've gotten on the network. You've had some great guests. What's the rest of the year looking like for you?
Oh, what was that, Justin? You look like something flew in.
Oh, nothing.
Okay.
What's the rest of the year, even though it's very shortly coming to an end, looking like for you?
You mean for 2024 or 2025?
2024.
Okay. Just still booking guests for the show because, as you guys know, I'm now doing weekly shows every Tuesday at 6 p.m. Eastern on United Public Radio Network, as you just mentioned. So thank you, UPRN. We love you so much. So I've been booking more guests. I've been having a difficult time keeping up with emails. Like I was telling Justin before we recorded, I have to get myself an agenda because I'm losing emails and I can't remember who I'm supposed to be recording with. So if anybody's watching or listening to this and I'm supposed to be booking with you, please drop me another email. I've been getting more emails lately since I've been on the network. So I almost need an assistant.
Ooh.
Yeah.
You're going into professional territory now. Like true professional territory.
I'll get my daughter to do it free labor.
There you go.
So as we know,
it's experience. It's experience for when you get into the workplace, honey. Don't complain about
it. Yeah. But yeah,
just hey, your tail's in the way. walk away.
Oh, walk away. Wants to be in show business.
I know. Just his tail, though. It's only the tail that pops
Oh.
in and out.
That's funny.
All right. Well, we've got so much going on here in the US specifically, but I've seen stuff going on throughout the world. So we'll kind of get into what we were going to start discussing for this episode. Now, both of you know about the drone situation happening here in the US. There's also been a lot of UFO, UAP sightings going on throughout the world right now. Erik and I briefly touched on this last week on our Christmas episode just because it's becoming more and more prevalent and we're going into 2025. So all the different things that have been said, I'll go through a small list. First, it started out that these things were UFOs / UAP. Then more people were calling them drones. And then we've come across these orbs that are UAPs, UFOs that people are seeing. Some people have claimed they've seen these things, the orbs being attacked by the drones, and then the drone just drops out of the sky when it makes contact with the orbs. I've heard people that are talking about the ones in New Jersey specifically, that the reason they are around a nuclear power plant is because in actuality, that nuclear power plant has lost a crate of nuclear material that is just missing. Nobody knows where it is. So these drones are looking for the missing nuclear material, but why not just come out and say that if that's the case? I get you don't want people to freak out. However, the general public should probably be aware that they're in danger.
Well,
Definitely.
yeah, 100%. Actually, before we continue on, I do want to mention right at the beginning that when you started talking about drones, you had said the word drone, and this weird white noise came out over the radio, over your voice. I don't know if anyone else I
Oh,
heard it, but I heard it very clearly. So that's kind
I
of
didn't
weird.
hear it. Huh. They're listening.
They might
Well,
be.
that's the other thing. There's been people, and these are just people that are taking recordings and putting them on social media, but there have been people reporting hearing stuff coming over their radio stations, kind of like what happened in Signs, the movie Signs, if you've ever seen
I have.
that movie.
That was
Mhm.
kind of a creepy movie. Not
Yeah.
gonna lie.
I just sent Erik a TikTok video that somebody posted that said everybody in New Jersey right now, and it's showing Joaquin Phoenix and the two kids sitting there with the tinfoil hats on.
That's funny.
But what are some thoughts on it?
Oh, where to start? Good grief. Well, first of all, like Justin and I had mentioned to you earlier, uh, we don't know the general public doesn't exactly know what they are. We're all speculating, and for Trump to go and say that we need to shoot them down, and then I started seeing people actually shooting them down from like shooting at them from their backyards. Is that really a smart thing? Because not knowing where they're from, who knows if there's biochemicals in there or anything else that once it's hit, it's just going to disperse. You know,
Hey,
we don't know.
this is America. All we do is dumb stuff. Like in the name.
Wait,
Well,
dump stuff or
No,
dumb?
dumb. D-U-M-B.
We
Got a
dump
bunch
a
of
lot of stuff too.
we
I
do
was
dump a
trying,
lot of stuff too.
I was trying to be polite as a Canadian, you know.
That's okay. You're
Since you
with
said it.
friends.
Well, I don't get just friends. Yeah, not even family anymore. Whatever.
Oh goodness, I got to be very careful how I say things.
I'm kidding. Oh, geez. So yeah, I mean, not knowing exactly what they are, I think we have to be careful how the general public actually interacts with them.
Yeah,
Mhm.
regardless of what they are. Yeah.
Yeah. Regardless who sent them, what sent them, whatever. Yeah.
But here's the thing now, like what I find interesting is a little over a year ago now, or has it been 2 years already? We had the weather balloon incident coming in off the coast. And then there were a couple of them spotted throughout the US and in Canada as well. And of course, the military was really quick to act on it and shoot them down without any regard as to what it was or where it was actually coming from. But for some reason, they're very hesitant on shooting these down, which has me think A, they just simply know what it is. Now, whether or not it's extraterrestrial or military, that's up in the air right now. I'd like to say it's most likely military, in my opinion, just based on some of the evidence in the shape. Many of these shapes are triangular, and so there are quite a few of military jets that are now triangular that are still confidential. But we've seen them flying. There've been photos and videos of them, and it's possible because these drones are really appearing around military bases, particularly. It would make sense that it must be military. It's kind of weird that of all military bases in the US, that alien technology would just choose New Jersey of all places. There are much bigger, better military bases that they can be checking out, such as Area 51, if it's still there, right? So there's a lot of conspiracy around that as well. But nonetheless, I think that our governments, and mind you, we have the FBI working on it. We have local police department working on it. We have the Pentagon in on it. So the government's very, very well aware. None of these three say they know what it is. And therefore, just because it doesn't seem to be a threat, we're just going to let it do what it does. It's doing nothing illegal. I don't know. That seems weird to me. I think they're holding on to some more information than they're allowing us to hear. So that's curious. But as a U.S. citizen, I only have so much power. Any of us only have so much power. So it's pretty much just a waiting game, waiting to see what happens next.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, like you said, when they, in a heartbeat, they shot down those balloons. So why aren't they intercepting these drones now? They either know that it's theirs, or they know that they're dangerous and they don't want to touch them and trying to figure out how to handle them. I don't know.
Mm-hmm. I did see a report. I read in a recent article yesterday, actually last night, that the military has been allowed to issue their own drone, which basically hunts drones. It's what it's meant to do. It has a special radar system to find these things, and it has capabilities of disarming any drones in the area. It uses like an electromagnetic pulse that just renders the drones around it, unworkable. They just fall out of the sky. However, from what the article says, it's technically illegal for them to take down any drone in that matter without knowing who the drone belongs to, which is, again, suspicious. Seems weird because, U.S. seems to be pretty trigger happy on everything else, but these drones are a very interesting experience, to say the least.
Well, what fascinates me about this is that this is on after these whistleblowers that came out from the military, the government, addressing Congress and saying, oh yeah, there are these UFOs, UAPs out there. They are non-human intelligences, and they're coming from our ocean. Is that a factor as well? Maybe. I don't know.
I mean, a lot of the evidence that we had when they first released the truth that there are these vehicles that the military can't explain, that they've witnessed while they were working, while they were flying or whatever, using the radars, things that supposedly move much faster than anything known to man. And this was all happening over the ocean. And they would see these little dots disappear into the ocean and then come back up out of the ocean. And of course, they naturally had said it was, what was it, like Iran, right? That had a mothership somewhere in the ocean, which again,
this was to explain these
to explain
these
drones coming from the ocean.
And Kat, if you didn't hear this, a New Jersey congressman came out and said, oh, I'm going to tell you how it is. There's an Iranian mothership, his words, parked just off the coast of the US, and it's spitting out these drones. And then the FBI is like, no, there's no. And then after you had said that, Eric, after you researched it, I saw a press conference where somebody from the Pentagon's like, there is no mothership. No, we don't know what these drones are.
Right. I mean,
It's just a mess. And then I heard just recently that Israel is saying, oh, Trump knows that these things are extraterrestrial. He's not releasing it. What that's about, who knows? But
I don't know. I mean, there's been a lot of articles of Trump he's posted on social media multiple times that the government has to acknowledge what these are and let the US people know. He doesn't believe that they're just simple drones that belong to the military. He does think it's something else. Whatever that is, who knows? But he himself is also a conspiracist. So it's hard to say. I mean, this is also the same guy who said, oh hey, maybe we can get rid of COVID by, I don't know, using some sort of Clorox to shoot into our veins and heal ourselves from it. Like, you can only take so much truth from this dude because he doesn't speak the truth. He doesn't know what he's talking about half the time.
He's also the same guy that was shot in the ear, and then a week later his ear is perfectly fine. They healed him perfectly in a week because they have these super healing factors now.
Well, yeah, it's the aliens that healed him.
I mean, he might be a reptilian. We don't know.
He could be. But if it is a mothership, Iranian mothership, don't you think that they would have put a kibosh on those drones immediately?
Oh, they would have taken off the mothership.
Oh, yeah.
If it's this close and those drones are coming and going and the US isn't capable of tracking them, then that means the ship is very close to the coast. And if that's the case, it's no longer in international waters, it's in US waters, which gives legal right for the military to take it out. The fact that hasn't happened could be a number of reasons. If indeed there is a mothership there, one could be trying to avoid war. And until these drones or Iran does something to inflict some sort of harm to the US, they're just going to resist so that they don't have to go into war necessarily and send troops somewhere that they don't need to be going.
Yeah, and
times
the more videos that are coming out, I'm watching less and less of them because it's like now my entire feed is just full of this stuff. But the ones that they are calling drones very much look like something our military probably has their hands on. I've also seen the ones where it's orbs. And it's like, okay, well, that is interesting. I don't know what it is, but at this point, they're blatantly coming up with it. They don't know what it is, but then we've got 50 different people giving theories, and especially from the government, no less. You can't sit there and say you don't know what it is because they very much look like terrestrial drones.
And I understand they're pretty big too, like the size of a car or something.
Like a small SUV, supposedly.
Yeah, supposedly.
Before that, I hadn't even known that drones were that big, to be honest.
Yeah, well, military drones are. The Predator system, for example, that's a drone that basically is weaponized, and it's what they use to go into enemy territory without detection and without having to harm any soldiers necessarily. It's flown somewhere off. I was going to say U.S., but they're not typically in U.S. They're wherever they are stationed in that country, and they just fly right over, drop bombs, missiles, whatever, and then hightail it out of there. These drones aren't nearly as fast as fighter jets, so they're not necessarily meant for what do they call, like sky tactics and doing air defense or fighting in the air with other planes. These are things that just simply cruise over top, drop whatever payload they have, and then they're gone. Very similar to like the stealth fighters. That's what they do. They often have bombs on them that they drop undetected. These are just unpiloted. But the pictures that I have seen of these drones that are legitimately the drones do look very much like our modern airplanes, more or less, just more triangular in shape, which we've had for a very long time now. Like those stealth fighters is a triangle shape that we've had for many, 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 many years. The one thing that I do find really interesting is with all of the photos and videos that have been posted. There was a time when they were saying, "Oh, there's 50 drones in New Jersey that have been spotted," and no, in reality, there's only been somewhere between 2 or 4 drones seen per night. The majority of the videos and photos that have been posted online are actually airplanes, just regular airplanes. And these are things that have been sent to the FBI so that they can get a better look at them. And I've read some of the reports, and the FBI said, "Oh, yes, this is a report from a photo that we received from such and such, 2 nights ago." And after clearing up the photo and getting a closer look, they could see the word frontier on the back of this drone. And it's clearly not a drone. And a lot of these videos, I mean, they're blinking lights like normal airplanes. I know there was a couple videos posted of these weird orbs that were trailing each other right over an airport. That's natural for an airport. I live just 15 minutes from an airport, and you have, on a clear night, you could see upwards of 5 planes trailing each other miles apart, but they look huge and they look close together. But they're all just flying the same flight path to come in and land. So it's just a lot of mistaken identity as well.
Yeah, I used to live near an airport as well when I was living in New Brunswick, and about 10, 15 minutes away as well. And yeah, there's lots of activity sometimes, and you can see pretty far, and it looks like lots of. It's just kind of neat how you can see the flashing lights from them. So, saying that that's not normal around an airport,
Yeah,
it doesn't sound right.
Now, Kat, I asked you this before we got on, but you guys haven't seen any excess activity going on up there?
Not that I know of. But then again, the past couple of years since Governor Trudeau, sorry, I just find that funny. We don't seem to get as much information from other places, including our own country, as we did before. It's pretty bad. I have to get a lot of my intel from Instagram. People posting things. It's just crazy. But no, I haven't heard of anything in Canada.
So something I sent Erik recently, it was a YouTube video or TikTok video, and it brings up something that's been kind of happening over the past couple years, even more so this year, and that is the invention of AI. And this guy's theory was, and he was just a normal guy, didn't have any PhDs, nothing like that. Asked, is this an AI that's become sentient and has taken over these drones that are now patrolling New Jersey? I've now seen some in Nevada and California. Maybe people are just starting to overreact even more now because of this from New Jersey. But what are some thoughts on that?
That's a strong possibility, really. I mean, AI, I'm not going to lie, it's jumped so much in just the past couple of years. I mean, it went from in its infancy to all of a sudden it's like, holy cow. I mean, what was it? Somebody had, I can't remember if it was a social media platform that used it, or jeepers, I wish I could remember. Anyways, the AI was actually starting to talk with other. Please jump in if you actually know what I'm trying to talk about.
Erik and I remember. I don't know if you remember what it actually was, Erik, but
I don't know if I do actually.
They had to shut it down because they came up with their own language, like the
AI.
Okay.
No,
yeah. And they're just like, what? Shut that down now. So
yeah,
I don't know. AI has really come a long way.
Yeah, even since that happened. Yes.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Well, and I think it's not a matter of whether or not AI will eventually become sentient. It's a matter of when, because that's just a fact. Like the way that it's the thing with like the network, like the online network, it's not really held together by like lock and key in many places. So it's only a matter of time before AI figures out the loose ends and trails off that way. You're right. It is smart. It has already come up with the language. It has created photos and videos that people can't do themselves yet. It's done a lot of things and has progressed a lot of our industries forward already. And in fact, a couple of weeks ago, I was at a rallies here, which is also known as checkers in other areas of the country. But they're using AI to take orders now at the drive-through. And I
Oh,
was
wow.
I was totally confused because I got there and a wrote like a AI system just introduced itself, said welcome to Hardee's, and I was like waiting. I was like, I can take your order. And I was like, okay. So, and I had this little short conversation about, the types of food and what I was getting and stuff like that. And it can respond with no problem whatsoever. And it got the order right without any problems.
Wow.
Well,
So
I would
people
hope so, because humans screw them up so badly.
That's true. That's true. Which is why AI is taking over all these jobs. I mean, that's
Right.
officially a job that someone's lost because of AI.
Yeah, definitely. Our local
Well-
coffee shop here, they could use it because they always mess up my order. But anyways,
I hope they're listening or not listening. I'm not sure.
Erik, I told you about this, that Google's new AI Gemini.
Right.
I had a conversation with this thing, kind of jokingly, because of all the drone situations going on and everything in UFOs. And I was having a conversation with it, asking, is there any reports of you? That's what it was. December 3rd, we were supposed to have a war in the skies with ET or drones or something. And I asked Gemini, was there a war in the sky tonight? And Gemini basically said no. There's a full explanation that it gave me, but basically no. But it was like having a conversation with a regular person.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
that's scary.
Yeah. After you told me that, I tried having a conversation with Siri, and she wasn't thrilled about it. So
I was like, I can't do that. Leave me alone.
Yeah. Well, she was like, "Oh, here's a couple of links that I found online." I was like, "No, I'm asking if you can have a conversation with me." Yes, I can have a conversation. So I asked her a question. Let me look online for you. I'm like,
Yeah, Gemini did not do
yeah,
that.
I asked her. I was like, how do you feel about Gemini being able to talk to me? And then she just went silent and wouldn't respond to me anymore. So I was like,
She's
okay.
jealous.
You made her mad.
I made her
Totally
mad.
jealous.
Like, and I know, and that's the thing. It's that one little thing that I say, because I thank Siri all the time, for finding things for me, telling me the time. I want to stay on AI's good side for when they do take over. They'll make me a slave instead of just
Well,
kill
I
me.
told you, as soon as you told me that, I've been doing it every single time.
Yeah, you never know.
GPT, Gemini, Bixby, which is Android's version.
And now I'm going to see 10 years down the line here, when AI comes to me, I'm like, I was always kind to you. And I'm like, no, you mentioned Gemini and said he was better than me. And they're going to put me out of my misery or torture me, one of the two.
Or turn you into an AI yourself.
I mean,
yeah. I mean, the same thing. Well, I have an Android, and sometimes it just turns on by itself. I have no idea. It's like, I didn't quite get that. I'm like, oh, was it? Because you have to say, hey, Google, or whatever. And it's like, I didn't even acknowledge you. Why are you saying? But whenever I do use it, I always say, thank you, Google. I appreciate your time. You're beautiful. Don't forget me when you take over.
I appreciate your kind words. It's always
Whoa,
nice.
see? Look at that.
I am a large language model, and I do not have a
Okay.
I don't want to know where he was going with that. I'm a large language model, and I do not have a turn that off quick.
Just wow.
Let's keep it PG-13.
It wasn't me. It was Google.
It was Google.
Shh, it might hear you. Oh, that was weird.
Yeah.
And my volume's turned down too, so there's no reason why we should have heard that. I just looked, it's muted.
Do you think when AI takes over, it's going to be AI as a whole, or it's going to be like Google versus Apple versus any other AI systems that are not related? And
I think it's going to be a rogue AI that I can't say it's one specific one, but there's going to be something that happens, if it happens at all, where a rogue AI, whether it becomes sentient, gets a virus first, then becomes sentient, which is a possibility, or somebody is abusing an AI, which is kind of the story of the Matrix. But I think it's going to be a rogue AI, not one specific one or warring.
Mhm.
Well, the funny thing is, maybe it already took over my phone because my Google, I don't want to say because it might start talking again, unless it can spell. Used to be a female voice, and now it's a male voice, and I never changed anything. I had no updates. Like, why is it all of a sudden a male?
I mean,
See,
look,
Gemini, I
there's a
made it a male voice,
whole
so
yeah, like I said, we can go down a huge rabbit hole as to why it was once female and now male, but that's not the type of show that we run here. So
Yeah,
it
but
I
it does have free
went-
will, I think. It's
It-
going to soon.
yeah. Well,
Maybe-
and we've joked about this at work. I've joked about it with Shelly, that you know, at this point, somebody take over because we need a change here. Like, whether it's the alien overlords or the AI overlords, whoever it is, something needs to change. And at that point, here's a good question, since we're doing a paranormal podcast: does paranormal podcasting or talking about the paranormal become obsolete at that point?
Why? Why would it? It only gives us the answer to one question, and that's AI can take over. We don't know nothing
Or
about
aliens
ghosts
are real?
or aliens are real. That's one subtopic of so many, various topics within the genre. So, unless it's an all-knowing, extraterrestrial or being that can explain everything, which eventually there will be, but in this case, regarding aliens, I don't think it's going to happen.
Unless they have answers, or AI has answers about these different things that we claim to say are real, and we just don't know.
I mean, that's possible. I will say though, like in regards to, you feel like something needs to happen just because we need to change. There's that old saying, "Be careful what you wish for," because things can get a whole lot worse. For all we know, what we're going into in 2025, God help us all, might be the best option, comparatively speaking. If we're talking about AI or aliens,
Right.
I keep
And-
thinking. Go ahead, Justin.
No, go ahead.
No, I keep thinking of the movie Matrix, and maybe we are in the Matrix, and somebody escaped, and these drones are actually out looking for them. That's what I
Well,
keep thinking of.
a lot of scientists have come out saying that we're in a simulation or a
Yeah.
matrix. And in a sense, if you think about life in general, and what a lot of people believe, is that we're just a energy body cut in this fleshy mask.
Meat
In a
suit.
sense, we are in the Matrix.
Yeah.
But
Anybody?
I digress.
a lot of silence there now. Just like, okay.
I was thinking of it deeper, and it's just like it's kind of creepy, but
Well, I mean, and there's like, oh, so go ahead, Kat.
no, I was gonna say creepy coming from me, who goes into dark buildings looking for ghosts. That's saying something.
Yeah, but that's the difference is, going into a building looking for ghosts. That's something that you're willingly doing. If you're part of the Matrix, then there's a bunch of numbers and things that are pretty much basically planning your route through life in some way. So that's something you need to consider. If we're in the Matrix, then everything we're witnessing, everything that we're experiencing isn't real. None of it is real. There's no right and wrong. There's no good or bad. We could do anything, get away with it, because it's not real. And that's the problem that we have with the Matrix. There are no consequences when it comes to something like that.
So I don't have to pay my bills anymore.
No.
A lot of people on TikTok keep asking that exact same question.
Yeah.
I think that's the most popular question around this whole topic. Is everybody's asking the same thing? I don't have to pay my bills.
Well, and I didn't fact check this, but supposedly NASA has come out saying that they have discovered an alternate reality outside of ours, and time goes backwards for them because of cosmic rays that are again, I didn't fact check it. It's
Probably
more than likely
bogus.
false, but
I have heard that too.
So NASA could figure that out, but we've yet to be able to send a camera into a black hole. Or even
Or
get one
figure
near
out
it.
what the heck is going on in New Jersey.
Or know what's really happening on Mars. Like,
Oh, that too.
what? It's just all.
Is our moon really made of cheese?
It's the that's the number one question of a lifetime. We will
Or
never
is
know.
it a moon or a base for the extraterrestrial overlords?
Could be.
I've heard that too.
Oh yeah. Yep.
So Eric, you put something on our agenda, and now I need to know why you came up with the stuff.
Yeah,
I didn't ask, because I'm just going to leave it alone. I'm like, he'll explain it on the show. Just leave it alone.
Well, as I often come up with my ideas, it's when I'm fast asleep or it's when I'm just doing absolutely nothing and something pops in my head. In this case, it was around 5:30, 6 o'clock this morning, and I was waking up. And my cats, they really wanted me to wake up, and I was just like, leave me alone, and they bopped me in the face a few times at this point. So I was just like, all right, I'm going to get up, but I couldn't open my eyes because I was so tired. So I started, rubbing them, and you rub away the sleep, as they say, right?
Mm-hmm.
And of course, for whatever reason, it made me think of sand, and the sand made me think of the Sandman. And then I questioned, does the Sandman really exist? What is the story of the quote unquote Sandman? And this is the mythology of Sandman, not like the comic books.
Yeah.
Very different. And so, yeah. And so I pretty much just kind of fell into a small rabbit hole as much as I could in the short time that I had before heading to work to figure out what the stories are and if there's any accounts of him, which the accounts are very small, but the stories are still very interesting in terms of the mythology itself. First and foremost, like if I don't know if either of you were like me growing up, Justin, you probably were. I believed in a lot. I still believe in a lot. But like growing up, you believed in the Tooth Fairy, Santa Claus, the Sandman, the Easter Bunny, all that stuff. And of the four of those, I think the Sandman is probably the most possible because he is technically more of a spiritual creature than any of the others.
Who says the others aren't?
Well, I mean, just based on the theory, on the mythologies surrounding it. Like in the mythology, Santa is magical, but he is still human. And the same with the Easter Bunny, and supposedly with the Tooth Fairy as well, which is more of like a fairy.
How do you figure? Saint Nicholas is dead.
What do you?
How do you know?
Saint Nicholas. No, we talked about Santa becoming isn't necessarily Saint Nicholas himself, but is another being created as a representation of Saint Nicholas. Now, it could be that he's a ghost, but in a lot of the mythology that we have in the stories, modern day stories, we see him as being more or less a physical human. Now, of course, it's possible that this, as a being, he has the power to transform from a physical state and then to a spiritual state in order to get through certain places, like you and I talked about with chimneys and keyholes and all that stuff. But I digress because we're talking about Sandman and we talked about Santa Claus last week, Justin. Jeez.
Justin,
Now,
come on.
Christmas is over.
Remember correctly, Sandman actually goes back to Greek mythology or further back than that?
Or the what?
I'm pretty sure it's further back.
Yeah, I think it goes way back, actually, quite a bit. But Greek is, some of the more modern stuff, but it does go back into Scandinavian folklore as well, and it actually starts right around the Scandinavian folklore. Now, Sandman often appears in various traditional stories. Most of the ones we've seen or have heard through childhood and even through modern day, his story is constantly told again and again through movies and television. I think one of the most recent ones was Rise of the Guardians, which is a great animated movie if anyone wants to watch or hasn't seen it. It's basically about all of the what is it? It's like Santa Claus and the Easter Bunny. They're basically superheroes, and they go around trying to defeat evil. And the Sandman in this case is evil, which is interesting because I always thought the Sandman to be kind of a benevolent being. Mm-hmm. But in reality, or not in reality, but in many stories, he's also malevolent, which is interesting. And the stories on the malevolent side is really kind of creepy if you found the info on that. But the basic story is that the Sandman shows up when people are unable to fall asleep, and he simply just throws a little bit of magical dust or sand into their eyes, which helps them to close them and basically keep them shut through the rest of the night. Um, Obviously, the thought of sand being thrown in your eyes sounds like it hurts really bad. But this is the magical sand.
I
So,
was gonna say
it's a
magical.
little different. It's magical.
Did you know in French Canadian lore we also have the Sandman? He's
No.
called Bonhomme 7 heures, and if you happen to translate that directly, it's good man 7 o'clock. I have no it loses something in the translation, but yeah, he's supposed to go around putting sand in kids' eyes and then shoves them in the sack, almost like
Oh,
Krampus.
yeah,
Yeah,
for real.
he's like you got to be good. And those are for kids who won't go to
Who
sleep.
won't go to sleep. So he
So yeah,
drugs them and then kidnaps them.
yeah. And
Crazy.
then takes their eyes, I think, and brings them back to feed his children. Oh, it's been a while. I can't quite remember, but yeah, Bonhomme 7 heures.
Okay.
Well, I have a beef with Sandman then because I can fall asleep, but I normally don't stay asleep for the entire
Yeah.
night.
Yeah.
Well, that's your fault because you fall asleep before he comes to put you to sleep. It's your fault. When he shows up, you're already asleep. So he can't. He
That's my
doesn't put.
problem too.
Yeah, he doesn't put sand in the eyes of people who are sleeping. That don't make sense.
I thought maybe the quality of his sand really wasn't as good as what it used to be.
No, you just got to stay up till 3 or 4 a.m. a couple nights in a row, and then
You.
yeah. Okay. Well, maybe he just doesn't like coming, or maybe he's not Canadian. Maybe he doesn't come up there. I don't know.
Maybe.
He has restrictions on the countries he visits.
Oh yeah, probably. Yeah, he needs his passport. Or maybe I just have to say, Bonhomme 7 heures, où es-tu? Where are you?
3 times. Do it in the mirror, just
Oh,
so you
yeah.
know. So before you go to
Ooh.
sleep.
Yeah.
Well, and I told you this story, Kat. You haven't heard this yet, but maybe that was what happened to me the night that I was visited, or whatever the heck happened. But I told Erik about this. I'll tell you about it. I woke up one night. It was sometime last week, and saw a flash, and then heard something. I don't know what it was, and I woke up like in a panic, like felt very anxious, was looking around, felt like there was somebody in the room with me and Shelly. And then when it was finally time to wake up, I looked and I've got 2 marks on the webbing in between my finger that look like blood blisters, which more than likely are, but it was a weird coincidence that I've got these 2 marks that look like something went through my hand, and then I had this dream, whatever it was, or I've had the flash of light in my eyes when I'm in twilight sleep before. And I know it's associated with spiritual visitation, but I've never had it where I'm anxious and looking around and felt like somebody was in the room with me.
That's strange. How long ago did that happen?
Happened about a week ago.
Wow. What did Shelly say to that when you told her? Or did you tell her? No.
I told her, and she kind of gave me the same explanations Erik gave me.
Yeah, she said he has to stop drinking before bed.
Okay,
Is
yeah.
not what she said.
I believe you, Erik.
Thank you.
But also
least
something
somebody
has changed for me. I don't know why. Since that happened, I don't have anxiety like I have been. And my knees are usually always hurting me. They're not hurting me anymore.
Wow.
Actually, all my joints, I haven't had the pain that I normally have. Now, could be in between arthritis flare-ups. I don't know. There is probably a very good explanation, but it was a weird set of coincidences.
Now, do you still have that mark, or is it gone now?
Yeah.
You
I don't know
should.
if you
I
can
mean,
see it.
Oh,
yeah,
yeah.
you should. I still think you should go to like the Express Care or something to get their opinion, see what it is, because they'll be able to tell you right off the bat. And if they need any sort of I don't know. They probably won't need blood work or anything, or an X-ray or something. But some way to find out if there's like a device implanted, right? Because that's the big thing a lot of people
I
tend
was
to
thinking the same.
experience or claim to have after these abduction experiences. So that would be a curious thing to find out, and I think it would really be beneficial for your own sanity, but also for our podcast, so we can share stuff like that. I'm just saying. I'm telling the truth. Okay.
So I should go spend a bunch of money at the doctors for them to tell me I have 2 blood
You don't have,
blisters on my hand.
man. That's what insurance is for, bro.
Or you
Until
can come to Cat.
you gotta
should
hit your
be Canadian.
deductible first.
Oh man, I don't even need to. My insurance is free for all that stuff. I can go do it without a problem.
Justin's like me.
Yeah.
So when you did wake up, Justin, do you recall, like, first of all, did you still have your clothes on, and were they put on right or
Oh,
inside out? Because I have heard of some abductees, when they wake up, their clothing is put on backwards or inside out, or just strange things like that.
No, none of that happened. Sometimes I go to bed with clothes on. Sometimes I don't. Maybe they're taking them off in my sleep and I don't know it, and I wake up nude. I don't know. No, I'd had clothes on that night, and no, the only thing that I had was these 2 marks, which I think, yeah, I probably could have pinched them in something, but all 3 of those coincidences together is what freaked me out.
Does it hurt, like that location, or did it?
It was tender, and now, no, it doesn't.
If you feel in there, does it feel like there's anything in there, or have you tried?
Yeah, just webbing.
And if I was there, I'd cut into it, but
I'm sure Shelly would do it if I allowed her to.
hey, let her sacrifice. Gotta make sacrifices, Justin.
I'm not doing a blood sacrifice just to chill if I have an alien probe inside.
But we can blow this whole thing up. Like, tell the truth. Finally, get it out there.
Thankfully, it was your hand and not someplace more down south.
Yeah.
Oof.
That would have sucked.
Yeah. So if you do find that they are entities, could you send them my way? Because I could, like all the arthritises that I have. Yeah, that would be awesome.
Well, here's the thing that is curious though, because his experience is something that I had mentioned multiple times on this show regarding my own experience as a child, in the same regard that I always believed was some sort of abduction from extraterrestrials. Now, of course, for me, all I remembered was the flash of light. But I also woke up extremely panicked, and in my case, I was screaming. As soon as I woke up out of bed. So it was terrifying, which is weird. Like, a flash of light should not terrify somebody the way that it did.
Yeah.
So there was something much more sinister within that light that I don't remember. That's been immediately either shut out by my memory, by my mind, or was erased. I don't know. But the fact that he too witnessed the flash of light, and also happened to hear something, and that's all that happened, and then woke up in the same panic state. Well, now there's at least 2 that are, pretty much parallel here and intersect in that, hey, here's 2 stories. If we can find more like that are very similar, we might be onto something that we very much have believed in for many years now.
Do you know if anyone else in your family, because you guys are family, do you know if anyone else in the family has had any experiences similar to that with the flashes?
Not that we've been told.
Not that we've been told. And our family tends to be very secretive on a lot of things.
I'll say Erik had only just in the past, 15 years, you've had my dad and your mom talking about how there was a haunting in the house that they grew up in, that you grew up in.
Yeah, it's been longer than that. That's probably like it's probably right around 2001, I think, or 2000, something like that. It was actually, it's probably like 2003 because I was in high school. So, so it was a while ago. But yeah, that's something that's always been denied. This house that I'm currently in, this room that you're seeing here, I grew up in this house, and this particular room used to be my bedroom when I was a little kid.
That's interesting.
Yeah. So me and my sisters growing up, we always witnessed paranormal happenings, shadows and footsteps and whispers. My bed, right where my sorry, things here. He's got my mind like, I'm like, soft cat.
Soft kitty one.
right where my monitor is, the camera. This is where my bed was, and it would I would face the doorway into my sister's bedroom, and her bed would face toward me, or she would face toward me. And one night she woke up and saw me sitting in my bed, and she was trying to get my attention. I wasn't responding, so she got out of bed and walked toward me. And as she did, I kind of disappeared, and she found me sleeping. So she was 100% positive I was sitting up in bed, and realized that whatever it was vanished right before her eyes, and it was sitting basically on me. Um, but there's been things like that happening, lights flickering, door handles turning, stuff like that. And my mom always said, no, there's nothing here. There's nothing here, nothing here. 2003, it's New Year's Eve, and they're all around the table. We're all hanging out, and her and my uncle start talking about how this house was haunted when they grew up, because they grew up in this house as well. My grandparents owned this house. So this is like a 2-generation house, basically.
Mm-hmm.
It's 60 years old now, I think. So, and it's been haunted for as long, 60 years. Now, most of what was here, I think I've cast away. I do like a number of different things to cleanse the house. And I do it relatively regularly just to keep it out, because things have gotten very dark in many ways. And I've had a lot of dark experiences, especially with demonic entities over the years. So these are things that tend to be attached to me, and the eviler things, they tend to I tend to attract them for some reason. And maybe it's because of my curiosity in the paranormal and the certain things that I research. But nonetheless, it's a thing. And so I'm very cautious on keeping things out, especially now, like, when I have family over, and my nieces, I don't want my nieces to get attached by anything. I don't want my cats to be troubled by anything. And the one cat, like a few weeks back, has already had an experience, as far as I know. And I told you about that cat when they were freaking out. I sent you the video. Yep. So whatever that was, I don't know. And they haven't reacted like that ever since. So hopefully I've gotten rid of that too. But I also have a problem as of recently, and it's not really a problem per se, but I collect things that I probably shouldn't always collect, Of course, I've got a voodoo doll, which who knows what the spirit is attached to that. I have a mask, an African mask that had a negative entity attached to it, which I cleansed and asked to leave. I have a railroad nail. What is it, from Poplick Road?
Yeah,
because
I have one too, because he grabbed 2, and I'm like, I really feel we shouldn't be taking these.
Like, but we're doing it.
Oh well, we're doing it.
Same thing with the voodoo doll.
Yeah,
and we're in New Orleans. You have to get a voodoo doll from New Orleans, because it's not authentic if it's not from New Orleans.
Yeah, right. But like the railroad spike is something. It's from a bridge, a railroad track that goes over this Poplick River, and a number of people have died there. They've jumped off the tracks or have fallen off the tracks and died.
That's the bridge that you spoke about in another episode, and we actually spoke about that too, and you guys were there.
Yeah. I posted I think what we did, we shared a video on that episode as well of the tracks. So I pulled both of our spikes out of the river right underneath those tracks, which, like Justin said, was probably a bad idea, and I knew it. I felt something, but I was going to do it anyway, because just because it's what we do in the paranormal. We do weird things.
Now, did you try to cleanse any of these items that you brought back home, or do you just leave them as is?
I cleansed the mask only because I knew there was something negative attached to it. I knew it, and then my girlfriend at the time, she didn't believe me until she held it, and then also said, yes, there's something attached to this. So I cleansed that before bringing it in the house. And then the railroad spike, we also cleansed, but originally not in the way that I would normally do it. So like I cleaned it. There's a number of different ways to cleanse things. Okay. Yeah. And a lot of it has to deal with mentality. Like people think, you have to use sage, or you have to use charcoal or whatever. So in this case, I actually used a Clorox wipe. That sounds crazy probably to a lot of people who maybe do cleansings on a regular basis, but the combination of a literal disinfectant and then the meditation of that disinfectant, erasing whatever energies are attached to it, is enough to get rid of and cleanse that energy. So that's what I did with the railroad spike.
All about intention.
No, it's intent.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. So those are the only two that I cleansed. My broom from Salem, I did not cleanse. If didn't feel negative in any way, and the voodoo doll I didn't cleanse. I let them both come in, and I kind of just waited to see how the voodoo doll would react to other spirits within the house.
Or the
I
cat.
just, yeah. Well, I didn't have the cats yet, so when I
Okay.
got the voodoo
That's
doll,
right. Yeah.
I got them a couple
Right.
weeks later.
Yeah.
But yeah, when it's like a negative entity, that's something I just simply don't want. Like if it feels negative, I don't want it in here because they tend to bring in other negative entities,
Yeah, they bring
and then
friends.
things get bad. So I just, whenever I feel that, it's out. As if best I could, it's out.
They bring friends, and then it's a
Mhm.
party for them. Yeah.
Yeah, party for them, and not so much a
Yeah.
party for me.
Yeah.
Exactly. Yeah. Yeah. Whenever, because I have an antique table, I don't remember how old it is, but as soon as I brought it into the house, I saged it. And I've always believed that when people say, "Oh, you need to have a crucifix to be able to get rid of things," and I'm like, no, not necessarily. If you firmly believe that that fork is going to help you concentrate on what you're doing, and you believe that that fork's going to work, it's gonna work.
Right. And that's actually I mean, I'm sure you've experienced it. There's a certain sect within the paranormal community that is they call themselves Christians. And they're just highly religious and very much opinionated. And if you don't follow their beliefs in any one way or another, they will stab you in the back quickly. Now,
Yep.
I'm a born again Christian. I even went to school originally to become a pastor. I'm very firm in my faith and
I
what I
didn't know about
believe.
that.
Yeah. But there was this question posted, and it was whether or not a symbol, like for example, a pentagram, is inherently evil, or isn't it? And of course, I've studied this stuff, and I have my own beliefs, and it's simple that a symbol only has as much power as you give it. A pentagram, looking at it, does nothing. It's just a symbol. It's just a star with a circle around. Well, there's a lot of misunderstanding as to
Yeah.
exactly what a pentagram is in terms of shape versus a pentacle and
Mhm.
whatnot. But the point is that it does nothing on its own. Not until you put the intent into it does it have power. And they turned on me like this is an open question. And because I answered it that way, I've had so many quote unquote Christians telling me I'm going to hell, that
Holy.
I'm the devil's child, that I'm evil. So I'm like, dude, I'm a born again Christian. I know my savior. You guys are the ones who are false teachers. You're hearing things wrong and you're manipulating other Christians into your beliefs. Like it's just sick.
Mhm.
But that's something that you deal with like often, especially in this community, that particular community within the paranormal.
Mhm. Yeah, it's crazy how some groups will just turn on you in a heartbeat.
Oh yeah, 100%.
Mm.
It's not the first time we'd faced adversity either. Like it's happened so many times to Justin and I.
Yeah. Well, in just the regular paranormal community too.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Or like the stuff that you come up with. I think it's from a regular paranormal community or the Appalachian community. Like the pictures you sent me, and I'm like, no, that's not a ghost. Like, but they're like, oh nope, you're wrong. It's a ghost, even though you're trying to say, hey, I'll give the one specific that I'm remembering, and it was this woman on a beach. Looked like her legs were gone, but the rest of her body was like perfect. You couldn't see through it, nothing. And I'm like, you can see the blur. You can see that like a kid went by or something blew by or something. It's a person. It's just a picture anomaly.
Yeah.
And he had said, yeah, I told them that, and they're telling me I'm wrong.
Well, it's like I don't know if your phone has it, Kat, but like most phones, they have this thing called night mode. So when it's a particular light, it extends your photo, your aperture for 3 seconds. So it holds the aperture open for 3 seconds, or the shutter speed, I should say, open for 3 seconds before snapping. Within that 3 seconds, if anything moves even slightly within 3 seconds, there's blur because it captures all of that. And that's all they did here. And they argued with me saying, well, everybody else is like, they're perfect. They haven't moved. It's like, yeah, they're looking at fireworks. Like you could just tell that this was a 4th of July thing. There's
Yeah.
flags and all this stuff. So they're all sitting still looking at fireworks. And of course, there's little movement in the trees. They're blurry. There's a little movement in some people here and there. But they're like, well, this is weird. This is different. This woman was walking too fast. I'm like, you can go pretty far in 3 seconds. Like 3 seconds is actually a pretty long time.
Yeah, I've had a friend send me a photo saying she took a photo and she's convinced that she got some orbs. And when I looked at it, I said, no, those aren't orbs. And she's like, yes, it is. Yes, it is. Like, well, why did you ask me my opinion then? Like,
because they just want confirmation. That's all it is.
Yeah.
Like they want confirmation. If you don't give it to them, they'll find it from someone else and tell you you're wrong. And they don't care if they're wrong because as far as they're concerned, they're right. And they just want to be right. And that's the problem with like some investigators that we've experienced or have worked with is everything we've captured, they want to acknowledge it as paranormal without taking the time to debunk or try to prove otherwise, you know, and research it. It's just, oh, it's a ghost, it's a ghost, it's a ghost, it's a ghost, it's a ghost. And it's like, okay, but what if it's not? You know, like there is so many other possibilities here. And it's just, I don't know, for me, it's frustrating. I get frustrated. I'm on a lot of these, like in a lot of these groups on Facebook for that reason, just so I could try to debunk things left and right. Because it's just fun. I'm just like, no, it's not that. It's just, you know,
and then they'll turn on you.
Yeah. You know, there's the occasional person who's like agrees and they'll go even deeper into why, you know, and those are nice. That's like, cool. You're on the right page. You're like, you know what you're doing. But then there's the other ones that just complete disregard. No.
Yeah.
I don't know how we got to this from the Sandman, but you know, that's what happened.
I put my 2 cents in about my whatever happened. So
we somehow moved from Sandman to aliens to ghosts. And whatever else.
But Kat mentioned one malevolent representation of the Sandman. Did you come across any others?
Yeah, so there's actually a story, a short story that was titled I think it's called Dear Sandman, but it's Der Sandman in 1816, which showed a sinister side to him. Now, according to the protagonist's nurse, he threw sand in the eyes of children who would not go to sleep, with the result of those eyes falling out and then being collected by the Sandman, who then takes the eyes to his iron nest on the moon and uses them to feed his children. Now, the protagonist of the story grows to associate this nightmarish creature with the genuinely sinister figure of his father's associate Coppelius, which in Romanian folklore, there's a similar character, Mos N, who is basically... he's known as Goodman 7 o'clock, so very similar to what you were saying earlier, and that's where your story kind of comes into play. So this Dear Sandman is actually just the beginning of the story that Kat shared, which is the extension, and they kind of meet in the middle. There's a lot of belief that the Sandman obviously puts people to sleep. In the proper way. I don't mean like in how you would put an animal to sleep. So sad.
Or put them in
he literally puts
sleeper
people
lock
to bed. But then he provides you dreams, like pleasant dreams for them as well. The Sandman is known to be a dream provider, but the malevolent one tends to produce nightmares instead. And so you kind of have this good and evil, or this good and bad. And some can argue that they're either one and the same with 2 personalities or 2 separate entities that work more or less in league with each other, much like as Santa Claus and Krampus, or God and the devil, or whatever, you know. Not necessarily equals, at least in terms of the God and the devil, not equals, but the others, maybe not. It depends on the stories that you read. So yeah, you know, I think either way you have it, it's really interesting to me because the Sandman is one of those characters that is actually very prevalent within modern modern pop culture. He's becoming more prevalent, especially with the comics, Sandman comics. We had a TV show out 2 years ago, and it's and we're going to have a new season coming out in 2025 here. So there's going to be more of the Sandman, and people, you know, when something like that comes out, people get interested. They start looking up the comic, then they start looking up the history, and even the comic. It extends back into the mythology. So there is a lot of original mythology kind of weaved within, of course, along with the modern interpretation, and especially for the comics.
The show is based on the comics, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Can't remember exactly which comic, but it's a DC Comics.
Mhm.
But I don't remember if they're under DC brand alone, because there's a number of different, like there's Black Label as well, and a couple of other DC sister
Yeah.
comics. So,
Yeah. I
But
think
I-
it started in it is a DC derivative, or they purchased
right.
who it is, but yes, Black Horse.
Black Horse, that's it. Yeah, because he does exist in the same universe as John Constantine and the Hellblazer, and they do cross paths quite a bit. Which, for all of you listening, I actually talked to Justin about this. John Constantine, Hellblazer, it's a comic, but there's actually a lot of very interesting supernatural elements that are legitimately have happened in real life. And so we're going to do a full episode on John Constantine's Hellblazer in the future and share what those events have been that kind of link this character with a real life individual.
Nice. Getting back to the dreams, though, the Sandman, it's interesting how I was thinking of the dream catcher. I mean, you can either have good dreams or bad dreams. You're supposed to place it above your bed, and if you touch the so-called webbing in between, then you're supposed to have bad dreams instead of the good dreams. So it's interesting how humanity is fixated on dreams.
Yeah, I didn't know that if you touch one, you could get
Oh.
the nightmares.
Yeah.
I mean, for what I always knew, I mean, yes, like a spider's web, it would trap the bad dreams, and then through the part hanging underneath it, it would release good dreams to the sleeper. And that was it. I didn't know if you touched it, it would do anything, or is supposed to do anything, at least in the mythology. But that's interesting.
I have a native friend of mine back in New Brunswick. She had made the kids and I dream catchers, and she told me, make sure you don't touch the center. And this was like years and years ago. And I said, oh, why is that? And she told me, I'm like, oh, I did not know that about the dream catchers.
See, so if you ever have someone you're disappointed in or frustrated with, make them a dream catcher, get some dreams for it to, or some nightmares for it to lock up, and then be like, hey, you should touch the center of this. There's this magical thing that happens.
Not
And
good
then
to tell you what.
they'll have a night or two with some pretty bad nightmares.
Eric, you're a horrible person. No,
I've been saying that for years.
and I never believed you. I'm starting to see it. No. I'm kidding. You guys are great.
All right. Well, we've talked about aliens. We've talked about AI. We've talked about Sandman. Anything else that's been going on that you guys can think of that you wanted to touch base on before we go for the evening?
I just hope that whatever's going on with all these drones, we find out what it is relatively soon, and there's not going to be mass hysteria, because it seems like a lot of people are starting to.
There already is mass hysteria.
Yeah, I know, but I'm afraid it's going to get even worse. So,
Yeah.
Well, I think, with 2025 right around the corner, there's some pretty big things happening that a lot of people aren't thrilled with, and many people are thrilled with. So we'll see. I can imagine things being like a lot of stuff being expanded exponentially, and probably becoming worse in many ways, especially when it comes to conspiracies and just the mass hysteria aspect of it. So I do think, even though I want 2025 to be awesome, and I think it will be in many ways, I also think it's going to be incredibly I think it's going to be a prominent year for things like UFOs and extraterrestrials in particular, because this is something that's only really begun becoming hot over the last 3 years. And it's just, in regards to mass hysteria, I guess I'll ask this real quick. Like, is it possible, and this could be a rhetorical question, but is it possible that we're seeing these drones or UFOs or whatever only because more and more people are starting to believe them? Like, this wasn't happening until after the government said, okay, hey guys, yeah, there happen to be UFOs and we don't know what they are either. And then
they're in our oceans.
Yeah. And then boom, UFOs left and right everywhere.
Or
It's
did
like,
the government say that, preparing us for that?
that is also possible. That is also
Or
possible.
as Carrot Kat has
Hey, Carrot, that's your new nickname. From now on, we're gonna have
Carrot.
Carrot Ward. We got Carrot Ward here.
Is it? Kat had mentioned Project Bluebeam.
Yeah.
Are we being conditioned to believe that that's what's happening?
Oh, it's hot, buddy. It's hot.
Oh,
What do
there's
you
my
think?
Cat
nephew.
number one.
What do you
Yeah.
think, Binks? Are they UFO? He
Binks.
doesn't want to look.
Yeah.
Look at those beautiful eyes.
Oh, I know. He's beautiful.
Hi, guys. He's like, you treat me like an animal. Shame on you.
Because you are an animal.
He laughed. He's
Yeah,
like,
I was
"I'm
actually talking. I was actually talking with someone at work last night about Project Bluebeam.
out." Mm.
Yeah, and she hadn't heard about it before. I'm like, oh, let me tell you.
Well, I'll bring this up just because I like leaving it with a cliffhanger in my books. It is a very odd coincidence that we had a very interesting thing when a certain somebody was leaving office, and now we have something very interesting happening when he's coming back into office. Not saying he's the reason. However, it is a very interesting coincidence.
That is an interesting coincidence, and one I will now contemplate for too long.
Well, that's why I'm here, to put these weird bugs in your brain. So we've got a lot of great stuff coming up in the new year. We have next week two people from a documentary called It's Coming on to talk to us about the documentary. It's going to be super interesting, and we've got guests lined up out the wazoo, so it's going to be a whirlwind for the beginning of 2025.
Can we define wazoo? I'm sorry.
It's this thing that's on your backside.
Oh.
Air usually comes out of it. Other stuff comes out of it too. But Kat, I wanted to give you the chance to tell everybody where they can find you, find the show. If they want to get in contact with you, the mic's all yours.
Oh, thank you. So I'm Kat Ward. I'm a host of Paranormal Heart Podcast, and it airs every Tuesday night at 6 p.m. And I am on UPRN 107.7 New Orleans. I'm also on YouTube, Podbean, pretty much wherever you find podcasts. If you want to send me any emails, it's paranormalheart13@gmail.com. I would absolutely love to hear from you. If you want to be a guest, if you want to just ask questions, discuss paranormal stuff, I am all ears.
Awesome. Well, Kat, thank you for ringing in the new year with us. It's been fun and exciting, and we're looking forward to 2025 and what that brings for both Paranormal Heart and ParaTruth Reborn.
Well, thank you. I really had an awesome time. I always do with you guys, but thank you so much for having me on.
All right, folks, until next week, where you'll find us same time, same channel. My name is Justin.
And I'm Erik. Peace.